Now,
That was a long 10. Hi, I'm Bobby Halton, and today we are live at Grace Industries, where they make tools that make firefighters safer. And you can hear PASS devices going on behind me, which is obviously means devices, but not just any PASS device and not just any system. We're going to be talking firefighter accountability on the fire ground about four ways. It was hanging out at an FDI small trade show that happens in Indianapolis so anyway, about 30,000, probably the largest trade show ever. Anyway, I was hanging out at FDIC and I runs into this cat and he says, "Hey, PASS devices, PASS devices, about PASS devices." And what's interesting, man, the only time you're past any good.
Bobby, I'm afraid it's not coming through very clear. If you don't mind, try to get outside at your earliest convenience, please. Bobby, I'm afraid it's not coming through very clear.
Display case of all the great David Rhodes figure, and show me how this room figure. Come on, Danny. You can catch. It's okay. Shannon, are we filming still?
We are. Looks good. It's going to be much better outside.
All right, we're outside. She's here in a minute. Catch up with that dude. Over here. Get in? Oh, you're good. All right. Hey, let me do a couple. This is Dan from Grace Industries.
Hi there.
This is John Flynn. He's the chief of the Hermitage Fire Department. He'll be showing us how his system really works, how he uses these devices, and some accountability you might not have thought of before. And this is my good friend Dan Ivan. And Dan is with fire companies, and he's also a volunteer firefighter in Ridge.
Greenridge,
and a really good guy. So we're going to be talking about accountability, firefighter safety, and how to track our people more effectively and more efficiently. Dan, how long have you been with Grace? Okay. So what's different with a Grace PASS device than the PASS device that's on my SCBA right now?
Well, the Grace PASS device is a standalone PASS device. And when you remove your SCBA, you still have a PASS device on. And that's what makes us special, because NFPA 1500 says device on for a lot of your activities that aren't even IDLH. That's what's important about us.
Well, you know, it's fascinating. Listen, and wildland firefighters, moving in our day, you're in an IDLH environment. You don't have a PASS device on. You don't have any accountability on, right?
Correct.
Yeah. You could be at a USAR event, right? You could be doing collab. You know, it could be a tornado, a hurricane. You don't have a PASS device on because you're not on air, and that's a problem.
We have a lot of people who realize that in the search and rescue world, and starting to realize a lot of this in the wildland fire as well. We're reintroducing a concept that's always been there. You've always the NFPA 15 of the SCBAs and the integrated PASS. That's kind of drifted away, and people have lost the concept of having to have a standalone PASS alarm on.
Yeah, why we have them.
Why we have them.
Right. It's not just another thing on your air pack. There's a purpose to it, a really important purpose, because we've lost fire that were unaccounted for quite some time. Not during a firefight. We've lost their lives because we didn't know they were down or missing. We've lost them water issues, or whether it's even just building inspectors or firefighters after the fire and wall collapse. These things have all happened, and we didn't know they were missing until long after the event. Very interesting that the concept of why we have it is critical to why we're here today.
And then the pass alarm is really just, it can be considered PPE. That's what it is. And that's no different than your boots, your hats, your gloves.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is PPE.
So we're going to do a couple of things real quick. I want to show, because your fire service was I did my whole career, but now I'm a volunteer firefighter. I've always been a two-hatter. But the volunteer fire service is a little bit different than, you know, the larger organizations, right? When you're volunteering, you can roll up 1, 2, 3, 4 at a time, right? A real common deal. So what happens? Well, they got a system that's called first arriving, or first in.
First in.
Called first in. So you're the first in to a job, right? Go. How does accountability work then? Well, with this system, what you're going to see right now, simple. It's going to absolutely blow your minds. So let's start off with, what's a pass device look like? You got one with you, Chief?
Right
here. Pretty simple. Little yellow box. It's got this little thing on the key.
Pull that off. That's all it does, and it activates it.
Just that simple, right? So that's your pass device. That's all you need, right? Look at the system. So you're the first in. You're first in, and you're rolling up. We got a job. We're here at Grace Industries. We're at 503 between the corner walk and don't walk. And we come rolling in. John, Chief Flynn.
Box is just simply set down in the yard. We go ahead, we turn the key on. Takes about maybe 15 seconds to start. Yep.
System. So it could just be John and I. We're at a job. I've got my pass on. John's got his pass on. It's just the two of us. The system's tracking us. Technology. Today, there's no reason why every fire department, volunteer fire department, even a career job, doesn't have this available for their first-in companies. First-in company throws this down. You got accountability. Real accountability. Not some schmarmy little tag list, but real accountability. So let's see what happens, John. So firefighter
Goes into stress. We'll set the box off.
I'm sorry, is it going off yet?
Yeah.
Is it sounding? My ears are bad. I don't know if it's
Yes, we hear it loud and clear.
That's going to get your attention. Right?
Definitely.
That's going to get your attention. We're interested. John and I are working. We're doing our 360. Our boss rolls in. Our chief of department play the role of the boss. Another firefighter rolls in. Big selling Bibles. So what happens? He can start tracking us right now. It works in a second, but it's just that simple. Just that simple. Let's go over here in the shade. Dan, why don't you take that in the shade? Anthony, follow Dan, and we're going to set that up. Johnny, why don't you show us how this works? Okay. Really? Thank you, boss.
So what's nice about this one with the iPad is the next incident commander, and you can go ahead and grab a hold of this. Firefighters, they turn out up here green, and he could actually count this 360 and still keep accountability on all of his firefighters. If one of them happen or their pass alarm goes off, we can go ahead and we can check it out either by the rate or do a par check. We could do a select one individual. So we'll do a on the one we have. Oops. There you go. So once he clicks, once the firefighter pushes the buttons in, it gives me an okay. So I know he is all right. And I can keep going down through all the firefighters that are there. If something happens outside the structure, we see a building that's getting ready to collapse or something, I could do an evacuator, send an evac. There we go. The firefighter clicks on that. Now I know he acknowledged it. Coming out. If they don't acknowledge that, everything's good. System there.
So it's interesting, John. But what there is called the first in system, right? Pretty sure so off your Android tablet. No big, not. But now you've got real accountability. Not just accountability when your men and women are on it. If you can get it out here.
This is the same thing as abilities. We could do exactly the same. I got just and they'll come up. I got an okay there. I know that person's okay. Now, if they go into an alarm, green, everything's good. Alarm. And also, so I come back. I start alarm. Still, so now I can come back quick on this person. Went into an alarm. I want to do a part that just went off. So anyways, so now I did that person's okay, so it was an accidental alarm going on. I also have into the
Go with the ball in the cab there.
yeah.
Camera guy. Showing some stuff.
So I also have inside. I also have a computer inside. I can run prior to arriving on scene as well. Asked. Frontier Fire Department. One of the hardest things to do is to and to have you know to set somebody at the front door, may are difficult. So with this, pretty much everybody.
Hey, so what we're showing you is basically the fundamentals of the system. And the reason I want to do that is because I didn't want to just break into a conversation about accountability on emergency scene. Framing, I chose to do it here with our friends from Grace. I'd like you to participate. Do hashtag GraceFire. Hashtag GraceFire. Then I can follow you here on Twitter if you have a question. We're going to have a conversation with a couple of fire people about how to reduce issues that we do fire ground that surround accountability. Take care of your people. It's not to give people orders or anything else. It's to take care of your people. Because as you take care of your people, the firefighters, and then you look at that. Look at it as protecting those fire. Take care of the people.
Bobby, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Things while we're outside, we're going to show you the 3 different.
Yes. If you don't care, go ahead and wrap it up a little bit. It's going in and out just a little, and I know this message is really important, so I would like for our viewers to hear it in its entirety. Do you have much longer outside?
Well, I was going to try to get a tan.
It's the right thing.
Shannon, you're making me mad. I'll make the sun go away.
I'm sorry.
Okay, let me just show it over here with me real quick. So, besides PASS devices here at Grace, they make some really cool lighting. These are to create a landing zone. Really cool lights, little like little flashlights, but you could also use them for traffic identification on roadway. Little base.
3 of them have a base that it sets up on, and you can set up a landing zone very. It's all right here. Set in the base. You can set up a landing zone kit very quickly. They have little caps that go on the top of them for some of the pilots out there that are sometimes concerned about the lights interfering with their headsets, things of that sort. So we've taken care of those issues as well.
And they were designed for me. There's one button. Figured that out. Get inside. Hey, there's going to be about a second here where you're going to lose us. Dan, you're going to go in and put us on live on the book. Give us a sec. And I really appreciate y'all being with us today. It's my mom calling. Just kidding. Again, it's hashtag GraceFire. This is Grant with today. We're hanging out with Dan. We're hanging out with John. And John uses this system. I mean, we're not blowing sunshine here. We're talking about firefighter accountability, which is one of the fundamental responsibilities of the incident commander. So I think Danny probably has us. Check and make sure Danny has us cooking in there. Danny has us cooking. We'll shut down the book. Dan? I'm going to check. Here, John, I'm talking by myself. What do I do? Dan, you good?
All right, Dan, we have you guys live inside.
There we go. You're live inside. All right. Shannon, I'm going to be coming over here inside. Can you see me, Shannon?
I can. You look great.
Hey, listen, right now, if you're on Facebook Live, we are now streaming on Facebook Live also from inside. So those of you who are joining us on Facebook Live, hey, listen, you just missed some pretty cool stuff outside. And we did that intentionally just to teach you. In the media business, that's called a teaser. So you've been teased. And for some of you, that's the first time you've been teased in a long time. You know what I'm talking about. So one of the things that's kind of neat, if you go back, you can check this, it's going to be in the archive. You can see some of the things we're talking about. We're going to take another look at some of them here. As soon as I get my camera guy over here, Dan and I are going to take a walk around. We're going to look at some of the other stuff that Grace Industries has here. Remember, you're on the road. You're hanging out on the road with Bobby Halton. And today we're at Grace Industries. So Dan, come on over here. Come on in, guys. Grab some seats while Dan and I kind of look at some of the stuff over here. Let's come in here, Mr. Camera Guy. You got a few feet of cord there. There you go. So we were kind of hanging out with Dan earlier. And Dan said to me, you know, we make pass devices for other people. I said, why would other people need a pass device? And Dan said, well, industrial workers?
That's correct. We're a springboard, the fire department. You guys have all been springboards for us into other areas. We're into industrial, commercial, anything you can think of where you have someone that's working alone. We have a system for that. And we've sold these systems all over the world to very large operations and even very small operations. And we call this part of the business Grace Lone Worker Safety. So we have Grace Firefighter as well as Grace Lone Worker. Grace Lone Worker was just an extraction from the fire department. So these are just some of the devices that we have. I just put this out here just to give you an example of what we look like.
Well, you know, but what's interesting about what Dan is talking about here, and John, want to come right in, and Danny, one of the things we do a lot is we do basically inspections on industrial facilities, right? And when you're doing an industrial facility inspection, they're on the plant, much like this plant here, and some of them are cavernous. In other words, you've got these large storage facilities, you've got these incredible plants today that are highly automated, and sometimes these workers work at a pretty remote distance from one another. So say a worker was having a heart attack, there's no way for them to let anybody know, but if they're carrying a pretty straightforward little pass device issued to them by their bosses, they can hit that button and help's on the way. That's a big deal, right? We're in the life-saving business first. And if we can get that message out to the folks that own these plants, we can help make their workers safer, we can help make those environments safer, and save lives. And at the end of the day, the people who own those plants are just as interested as the people working in those plants.
It's interesting because we'll get a lot of phone calls, and they'll say, hey, that's a fire pass alarm, and that's what I want. And these are coming from firefighters that work with the industry.
So it's very interesting how that all works. Our pass alarms have been transferred over into the lone worker world.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, especially coming from a kind of municipal environment. You know, when I went to the Intel plant, we used to roll out the Intel plant, and
We have a system in the Intel plant.
oh, in the Intel
And
plant,
we do. Actually, I don't know if I could say that.
No, you sure can. No, I used to do. I used to
I'm making a phone call from Intel.
No, and that's a great company. If it wasn't for Intel, we would never have Moore's Law, right? You know, we taught everybody how the internet, you know, how digital technology every 18 months expands, which is important. We should all please understand that. So, and much like that, there's going to be some pretty cool announcements from the FDIC. I can't pop the bubble on that, but you definitely want to talk to these folks at FDIC.
Surprises are coming.
There are things coming at our emerging technology summit. I know Dan will be there. He'll be bringing John with him. And they'll be able to talk to you about things that'll really, should really capture your, understanding of how smart technology is going to improve what we do as a fire service, right? So here's some more smart technology. You know, this is some pretty amazing stuff. We're going to hold a light here, but I'm just going to go across the room real quick. Dan, what's one fast use for a quick little handy LED light that you can tell now?
Backing up apparatus.
I can't tell you how many buildings have jumped out and hit fire trucks, according to my people. So, yeah, backing an apparatus, especially at night, you can't see the person giving the signals. Unclip this from his jacket, turn it on. Again, these folks thought of me. One button. Pretty straightforward stuff. And I'm back in action, right? So pretty amazing technology here. One on, one off.
An important part of this is we've sold a lot of these into the fire industry. You may have even have one. This is what's great about it. They work. They work really well. This is what's different than a lot of these that you find out there. These actually are MSHA approved. They come out of the underground mines. And we sell a lot of these into the underground mines every year. So think about a mining environment. Think about a fire environment.
Why would a mine want to have a light, John?
He wants his way back out.
Yeah, remember, firefighting is sometimes like a marathon. You know, there's one way in and one way out. You can lose half your stuff if you're not careful. So, yeah, having a light. So John just brought it up. Danny brought it up. You can put a light on so that you can actually identify an exit or a window, or if say you get men and women in the fire service at no fault of their own, you get disoriented. You can go to a window. This is a lot better than throwing your helmet out the window. Somebody outside is going to see this, right?
That's a great point.
So you can identify that you're in distress at a window. You could hit your pass. You have this at the window, and there you go. You got people coming for you. Or if you just want to be able to see one another, you can say, turn your lights on, guys and gals, and there you go. You got continuity.
We use a lot of them for traffic, too. It marks the guys in the traffic, and so we use them out on the interstate.
Highway safety, how many firefighters do we lose?
Entry points, metal door frames. It says a magnet on it. Snap it right to a door frame. You have a way out.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Shannon, how's our cameraman doing?
He's doing pretty well. It looks good.
Hey, everybody out there, this is live, right? This is not, you can help out if you want to run that camera, if you want to move that camera around and point at us. No, this little one right here, there you go. Come on around here. I'm listening, I'm putting a, Dan said, Paul, this is the first honest work you've done in a long time.
He's accurate.
So, for our Facebook Live friends, sorry I forgot to include you, but we're looking at these LED lights that are made by Grace Industries. We're here with Grace. We're hanging out on the road with Bobby Halton, which I don't know why anybody want to do that, but we're looking at some really cool products that matter, right? Stuff that matters. This is stuff that matters. This isn't nice to have. This is must have. You got to have a light with you, right? And if your light's in your pocket and a flashlight, that's great if you need to look at things. But if you just need to turn something on so people can find you, different story. If you just want to be able to turn it on and have it, this is a different story. If you're working on the highway at night, you're not trying to direct traffic, you just want to be identifiable. This is for you. You want to put it on the exit. This is for you. Dan, what you got now?
Well, what I've got now is one of our original products that we had that really kind of kicked us off in the fire market. This is arson detection. It's accelerant. You can find your accelerants. We sell a lot of these. This has been around for a long time. We sell a whole bunch of these. And we've made some improvements actually to the newest one that we have out, and hopefully we'll be selling a lot more of them. This is just another one of our devices that we have. It is, again, does the same thing, looks for accelerants. So if you're in that arson world, this is something you want to have.
I have to go.
Everybody does that.
I'm not your father. Oh, that's Michael Jackson song. Pretty neat. Direct traffic, bringing in a helicopter. These are really important stuff. And just a quick shout out to my friends at Grace Industries for supplying the United States Navy, which is very near to my heart. Yesterday we potentially lost 10 American sailors, which is devastating. The USS John McCain. My heart breaks for them. As many of you know, my friends know, my son's a lieutenant commander in the United States Navy, and they're incredible young men and women, incredible men and women, and they put themselves in harm's way every day for us. So thank you to Grace for taking care of our Navy by giving them this is what the men and women are using on aircraft carriers and on LDHs to land helicopters and jets and Harriers. If it works for the Navy, I guarantee it can work for us, because the Navy takes great pains in buying only the best equipment. So thank you, Grace, and our thoughts and prayers are with the family of those sailors, and hopefully they find them alive and well, and if not, our hopes and prayers are with their families. So let's look at some other great stuff. So real quick, we're just going to go through. This is what we're kind of looking at outside. This was in the back of John's vehicle. This is the big monitor, right? And then here's the little, this is the Android pad, right? So the Android tablet. So boss, tell us what you're doing. You're fiddling with toys, so explain to us.
This is kind of a recap of what John did for us outside. This is what we call a first in system. And we use this system for first in. They don't always know how many people they're going to have show up. So you want to have a very simple system to use. So I'm going to put this down because this really doesn't mean anything yet. Because if you imagine the response, if you're a guy that's out there in the middle of the night, the tones go off, and you're one of a couple guys who just shows up on scene, all you need is this box. You pull this box off of your apparatus and you turn the key on. And you have a simple form of accountability. What happens is if somebody goes into alarm, and we heard outside how loud the alarm is, I'm not going to do it inside, but that alarm will go off in here when somebody goes into alarm. They're either going to go into emotional alarm, or they can hit their panic button and they can go into an alarm. So that gives you a very loud signal.
Size of the panic button. No, seriously. No, gloved hand.
Yeah.
Gloved hand.
We had this designed all in mind for that purpose. This box right here has an evac button on the top of it. So if you're one of those guys that's out there and you hear the alarm going off, you know someone's in trouble. Or if you need to pull everybody out of there, you just come over and press the button. It will flash, and then you'll send an evac tone off to the pass alarm. So there's our motion alarm. What I'm going to do now is let the incident has escalated a little bit. You're the only guy that's out there. You had simple accountability. But now, someone shows up and they want to run an incident command. They want to run an incident command, and that's very simple. We want to do a part check. What's going on with those guys that are out there? I can select up one, or I can select everybody up on the fire ground. And when I do that, I'm going to call for a part check. And Bobby, I need you to press those two side buttons on there. Okay, here we go. There's a par. He pressed the two side buttons. It came up and I had a thumbs up. We can do a par check. Now, if you can imagine when you're out there what you have to do for a par check nowadays, you have to key up your radio. You have to stop all of your radio traffic, all of your operations stop. You don't have to do that now. This system runs simultaneously in the background of your radio system that you have. And you have a very simple accountability. Everybody comes up, their par has been received, and now you know. You don't have to listen for muffled audio. You don't listen for, did you hear somebody? Did they call in? There's a lot of chaos that's generated from that. We have solved that problem for the fireground.
Here's another thing they solved. So this is great, first in, small job. Okay, I'm a Metro dude, right? Cut my teeth in the Metro, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Big department. We get everything but the A&M brass band on the first alarm, right? So when I got an all-hands job, right? I got all my crews on site. Where do I go?
We go to the full crew system. And the full crew system, for some of you that have seen John in action, John had the full crew system, and he was showing you the full crew system in the back of his vehicle. He did a beautiful job of integrating our product into the back of their command vehicle. This is the full crew system right here. This runs on a laptop or whatever you want to run it on. It's a Windows-based system. I need to really point out that what we have with that tablet is an Android-based system. So there are two different type systems, but they still work together. I can't take the tablet and use the tablet with this right here, plugs into your USB port on your laptop. That's all it is. It's a little radio transceiver. And that radio transceiver hooked up to a set of software that we have that does primarily function the same way as the first-in system that we have. So I can do, like I did a part check over there, I can do an evac, I can select up everybody on the scene, and I can have instant accountability. Bobby, you called it intelligent accountability. That's what it is, intelligent accountability. So with that, hopefully I didn't bump something here, I'm going to send an evac. That's an evac tone. That's a little bit different than what we had. I squeeze the buttons on the side, I get the thumbs up on the evac tone that's out there. So it's really, as you say, it's really that simple. We've made these and designed these systems for whatever type of firefighting you're doing, whether you come in with a full crew or whether you come in with a first arrival crew, the first in crew, we have a system that will work for you. Dimension as well. And there's a unit over there called a 5X. If you pop that one off over there, no, the 5X, SuperPASS. Grab the pass alarm. Okay, this is, you see right here, this is called the TPASS 5. The TPASS 5 has a radio built into it. And when you buy it, it has a radio in it. Volunteer or the guys with the arriving in first-in crews that are out there, they would purchase one of these or could purchase one of these. And we've done this for the people who are running on tight budgets. You can buy one of these devices and it's just an audio pass alarm. So what that does is that solves the NFPA 1500 compliant issues that you have. When you wear this, you're NFPA 1500 compliant at all times. Now, let's say you get one of these, but now you want to make it a TPASS. You get a little bit more money, some grant funding that comes along, and you want to go into an accountability system. We've sold you a 5X. It has a radio in it, but the radio, we sell you an electronic key. The electronic key turns on the radio on it, and then you can operate with all the other systems. So we've done this to scale the systems for you. We know what it takes. We know what you guys need to do out there and how hard you work for money and what you have to do for money. And so we have that in mind. So operationally, we build a system for you. And we've also have a budgetary system we put together for you.
And no Chinamen were enslaved in order to make these.
That says a lot. Right behind these curtains, all of this product was designed and built and is manufactured by people here in the United States. All of the materials that went into this have come from about 20-mile radius around this facility. So this is American made, it's American born, and that's what we do.
Gosh, I'm an American firefighter.
Oh, you probably ought to have a pass alarm. Huh?
Not to go all nationalist on you, but I'm an American firefighter. So I would like to use American equipment. Everything is made in the USA.
Yes.
And assembled right here.
Yes.
At this plant. And we walked through, we saw some of these lovely people. They have great working conditions. It seems like a wonderful place. I mean, it's an iconic part of the country. It's absolutely gorgeous. So if I was going to hide bodies, I'd come here. It's absolutely beautiful. So fantastic. Anything else, product-wise, you want to talk about before we sit down?
I think we've covered all the products.
Yeah, we're going to grab some seats. We're going to set our cameras down. We'll take a minute here. Those of you out there, remember it's #GraceFire. If you want to send a few questions our way, talk to us a little bit about accountability. and how that works on the fire. I'm going to pull up my phone here and see what we're doing on hashtag. That's me. That's you, John.
Oh, here with John. See, Mike.
Okay, so let's see. Fantastic. And yes, Madonna, please quit stalking me. I'll return your calls when I can. So, hey, thank you so much. We got some neat people looking at us here and chiming in. And thank you so much for doing that. It's really fun. Again, we're here at Grace Industries, which is located right here in the great state of Pennsylvania. We're visiting with John Flynn. He's the chief of Hermitage Fire Department. My good friend Dan Iovan. And Dan is the owner of firecompanies.com. He's also a volunteer firefighter and has been for 35, 30 years. 30 years. And a great guy. And Dan's done some great stuff with us with fire engineering and all around the place. And of course, our host from Grace Industries, Dan. So one of the things that plagues the fire service has been accountability. And we could talk about actual incidents, but we really don't want to go there. So when we're talking about accountability on the fire ground in particular, we looked at the first arriving system, which up to now, I don't think we've ever really addressed it. In other words, first arriving companies in most municipalities, when they show up, basically just have to go to work. And so as we go to work, quote unquote, go to work, we're really at high risk, right? Especially if we have a rescue. In other words, when we talk about 2 and 2 out, which is a great concept. Oftentimes, the caveat to 2 and 2 out is what? No rescue, right? So if we roll up and we've got a crew of 3 or 4 or 2 or whatever we have, and we go into effect rescue, who knows where we are or if we're in trouble? That popped in my mind the minute I was looking at that system. I said, because oftentimes as a battalion chief, and I don't know if this happened to you all, but I would roll up and had great troops. And we always talked about, hey, 2 and 2 out and all that good stuff. But the troops would come out and tell me, boss, we thought we had a rescue, or we thought we saw movement behind the curtain, or 2 guys in Cadillac with top plates told us there's somebody at the window. They had their reasons for being in there. But had something happened to them, I wouldn't have known that. Right? I would have had to call a par. And so when we talk about calling a par, and that's why I got John and Danny with me. I don't want to just be saying this is just my opinion. When you call a par, say you're working a bigger job, working fire, 3 engines, bigger trike squad, a couple of MOs, of course you have like 4 or 5 people you don't need, battalion chiefs and whatnot. I'm just kidding. I was. So you've got a lot of folks, right? So if you call it par and say you've got 10, 12, 15 companies, how long does that take, first of all?
Long time.
Yeah.
Very long time.
Engine 2, we're par. Engine 3, we're par. Engine 4, right? So you've got 20 companies. There goes a good minute and a half just given the par, right? The other problem with it is you're trying to watch that with your pad, pencil, or whatever, or your aide is trying to watch it. If you're fortunate enough to have an aide, which is rare, right? They're trying to watch that accountability go down. Meanwhile, other people are trying to say, hey, boss, we need, a fan to the door. We need a hose line to the 2nd floor, or whatever else we need on the fire ground. That's not getting across while I'm doing that par. And some of that stuff is, if somebody needs another line somewhere, that's a little more important than the par at that moment, juncture in time, right? So then they have to jump in. So I'm engine 3, you jump in asking for a line, I never know you didn't hear me. At the end of the par, he's going apoplectic. 3 never reported in, I didn't hear him, you didn't hear him, how come you didn't answer the par? Now I'm 3 and I'm going back to work, firing back up the saws or whatever. That's most of our systems.
Another important thing too is
but this system doesn't rely on that, right? In other words, if I work with this system,
right. We heavily rely on mutual aid companies, and now I can also keep track of mutual aid companies when they have this PASS device on, because they'll pop up. We put them in our system. they're on our system. So we can also keep accountability of other departments coming in to help us.
And when you call a par, all I got to do now,
So,
everybody can do it at the same time. So now if 3 doesn't show up, it's simply, hey, 3, we called a par. Copy that, boss. Sorry, I had the saws on. But even that noise, that's going to pop off, right? So that sound's going to go besides the boss in your ears, right?
right.
Right, because oftentimes we'll put our like lapel mics up here to hear or whatnot. Not everybody's got a bud in their ears. Lots of us are trying to work off that lapel mic. You all know once you got 2 engines operating, you got the truck outside, you got Big Dan T here taking the windows and walls out, right? So I'm happy people got that one. So, but that's an important part of the fire ground. Accountability is one of the fundamental keys to safety. So we've been talking about the fire ground ad nauseum. Did I miss anything?
Here's the part. I already did it. We'll do it again. Because this is important stuff.
Well,
That's your part.
you'll hear that. If you can't hear that, you're my age. But you'll hear that. That was loud, right?
That was loud.
That was good. That's what I want on my fire ground, right? Rather than me saying, command to engine 2, or par all units, and going through that Kobayashi Maru of nonsense, right? That's quick. So let's jump off to a couple other things we're pretty familiar with. What happens? You're wearing your air pack, you're on air, you've got an integrated pass device. You're golden. 90% of the time when we're on the job, are we wearing our air packs? No. Can we get killed? Even we were just talking earlier, we were looking at the lights, which are fantastic, right? But if you say we have a firefighter, we say, hey, and Jenny, we tell me, Jenny, go out and set cones. Jenny says, copy that, boss, I'm on it, right? She's got the light on, she's going, she's good. But Jenny falls, there's an uneven pavement or whatever, trips and falls, and is knocked out or whatever, or her radio flies loose and she's got her foot stuck in a grate. It's a big one. What happens now? Without a backup pass device, she's not on air. She can't tell anybody, hey, I'm stuck, or I'm hurt, or I need help, right?
Those people outside the flames are just at as much risk in a lot of cases.
90%, 95, and in some places 98% of what we do is outside the flames. And nowadays, you can be responding to an EMS call, and we all do it. Colostomy's overflowing. We go racing out the door to handle the situation, hopefully have someone else handle the situation. But we go flying out the door, and that's not what it is. We get inside, and it's a man or a woman with a gun, or it's a home business, Crackway, Pot R Us, whatever your local neighborhood is doing to raise funds for orphan children. So now you're in a real tight situation, right? Not with this. You can push a distress call. Boom, you're okay. Or you can call a par, and that firefighter doesn't have to touch his machine. His device starts going off. You can just say, let me push this button and turn it off. It just means I'm not moving. He doesn't know you're letting the boss know you're in distress. So there could be a big safety device for some of the calls that we go on very routinely that are incredibly dangerous. Intrinsically safe?
Intrinsically safe, absolutely. And Bobby, when we talked originally, you had come up with some things I never even thought of. Mass events, stadiums with people all around the stadium. There's not a flame that's out there, but with a pass alarm system, someone gets into trouble, you press the button and you know that you're going to have they're going to be able to be identified.
Every fire department in America gets called upon to handle football games, all kinds of events at schools, all kinds of events at public safety demonstrations or whatnot, or during the campaign. You had Mr. Trump, Mrs. Clinton coming into town. That's a big deal. None of your folks are on air, but those can be highly volatile situations. You can have civil unrest. The firefighters wear uniforms. oftentimes we look a lot like police officers, and folks can mistake us, and a lot of times they don't care that we're not police officers. Recently, one of the bad guys said that in an interview. The firefighters and the police are one and the same. So that's another important use of it. Another important use, and I'll just speak to this because it was a tragedy, but where I live, a firefighter who responded with us in my volunteer job, he was a career guy. We had some flames, and this was a couple of years back, and he fell into a ditch by the side of the road. They were cleaning some houses. He was walking with his crew. He was the officer, and disappeared. The crew thought he went back to check on the family. He'd fallen into a ditch, and he drowned. He passed. But we didn't know he was missing. And we don't know how long we didn't know he was missing. I know we checked their watch and said, gosh, Tom's missing, start your stopwatch. We lost a firefighter because our accountability is all in our packs.
Can you program a person's name into this?
You can. John's gotten very, very good at that. Yeah.
How hard is it?
Very easy. With the iPad or the other system, it's very easy to program the name into it.
So what are you thinking, Danny?
Well, I just, if I had the money and I wanted to go out and buy my own, if the fire department could afford it, buy my own.
Yeah, that's one of the things.
Or if your department had the system,
and you wanted to purchase one, put it on. Sure. We have a couple different ways that people approach that whole concept. One is they will identify in their system that's been programmed up by seat identification and by apparatus, riding positions. And they'll handle it that way. Other people, everybody has their name assigned. I think you guys have your names. Yeah, everybody has their own pass alarm with their name assigned to it, and that's how they handle that.
And if I'm at Green Ridge and I have one, and we go into Marcus Hook and they have your system, so my name will pop up on.
Yep.
That's really sweet. So there are multiple organizations could then have this system and cover 4 or 5 different departments.
And we've found with having the system too that guys are more apt to activate these because they know they're being watched by the incident command. They know that, if they get into trouble, we'll get the alarm quickly. Where, some of the other, the older style stuff, we'd always have to remind the guys to activate their pass devices before they went in. These they're taking them right off before they even get off the truck, and they know that they're being watched. So you bring up another good point. With other departments, mutual aid, we have one user that has, there are multiple agencies, and we've got about 1,400 units that have one big giant database where people are all on a system. So anybody who rolls in, if somebody rolls in from another department somewhere, that's a type of system, that's a type of stuff that we manage with our in-command full crew system.
Yeah. It's a game changer, And as we're sitting here, the things that are flying through my head are like all the different ways I'd like to use this and the different applicability of it. And I think it's so critical. One of the things we really struggle with too in terms of riding positions when you brought it up is that in many of our organizations, and people can say whatever they want to say about we never work alone and all of that stuff, but we have things like the outside vent person, or we have things like the rear. There's a standard fireground function to get the rear, right? And your job was to go and make sure that the rear was opened up and folks could get in and out, right? Incredibly important on a commercial job. You always got to open the rear first before people go through the front door. You got to, 2 ways out all the time, right? You want to get trapped between fire and a locked door, especially a commercial door. But it's the same thing on residential. So, and that's generally one firefighter. We have firefighters that do 360s when they arrive. Sometimes they're the incident commander, or they're the first in, the first arriving. And so this way, now they're on a device that can at least notify people that they're somewhere on the grounds going through. You could have an animal trap you. I've experienced that myself, right? Hop the fence and met 2 pit bulls that were not happy to meet me, right? And luckily they never hurt me, but I mean, I wasn't moving until the owner came, and it took a while. The only reason they knew I was back there because I was screaming like a little boy. I took away my bicycle. Help me, help me. But with this, I could notify command, hey, I'm in trouble, right? I'm around the building. Or we talk about roof work, right? You send somebody to take the shovel or the scuttle.
that's a one-person job. You're not going to send 2 people to do that. You're going to send 1 person. You know, so, and that's important work. Even the IC, I mean, we talk a lot about, you know, stationary command, but there's a lot of places where there's mobile IC. The incident commander should be on the system. You know, you can get checked up too.
What type of battery does it use? It uses 3 AA batteries, and it'll run about 40 hours. If you just turn that thing on and let it run, it'll run 40 hours. If you put it into alarm, it'll run 4 to 6 hours in alarm, and it'll go for a long time. If somebody gets stuck somewhere and you're looking for them, that alarm's going to go for 4 to 6 hours, as well as it's already transmitted. If you're using one of the first in command systems, it'll be transmitting that alarm, and you'll be able to see them as well.
Does it offer like a low energy alarm, or so you know to change out the batteries?
Yes. Excellent question. Yeah. When the battery gets down, and I believe it has 1 hour left of runtime on it, it has 1 hour left of runtime on it. It'll start giving you a low battery indicator, and change your batteries.
Great stuff. Great stuff. So, real quick, again, three tiers, so to speak. Entry-level tier, first in, pretty straightforward accountability system, and an Android tablet. Right. Pretty straightforward stuff. And then, depending on how many passes you want to issue, you can do it by writing position, or you can do it by individual member, which is pretty cool. I like the individual member because we do a ton of mutual aid, which would be really important, especially in a volunteer job. I very rarely we roll in a writing position. You know, the paid guys bring the rig, and the rest of us show up and go to work, right? So my career job was radically different. That's just how it, right? That's just how it rolls, right? Good or bad, or right or wrong. It's just what it is. Remember that Grace is talking to real firefighters, and we deal with real problems in real time, with real issues and real consequences. So this isn't pie in the sky, theoretical, you know, gosh, you could do this. No, you can do this today. And accountability matters. And we were talking about the big events, and we're talking about the EMS calls. You know, we often overlook the fact that the wildland firefighter is in the ideal age. None of them have a past in this. 0. So if I'm working for Cal Fire, or if I'm working for some hotshot crew, I'm going to be speaking up. Why don't we have pass devices? Because you can go out a fire line and you get separated just as easily as anybody else can get separated while you're doing these kinds of things. I worked fire lines quite a bit when I was younger. You could be setting, you could be doing all kinds of work. You could just checking the line. You could be off the line and have anything happen to you. Even a medical emergency. We didn't talk about that. You start having a medical emergency, heart attack, a stroke. You could push the button to get help.
Wildfire is part of your world too. Yes. Your day.
Oh yeah.
Wildland stuff.
Yeah.
California.
Right. Yeah, this would have been perfect. You're in uneven terrain, as most of the guys know, and you know, if we had a few guys get, you know, broken ankles, maybe broken legs, and you know, if we would happen to not be there with them, we wouldn't have been able to help them. But here, they could have set this off, and the incident command could have done right away. Yeah, it's great. This is an awesome product. You know, when we first started talking about accountability, it was all focused on the ideal age, right? And God bless us, that's most of the stuff we do, and highly appropriate that we did. But we used to say that you're really not together unless you can touch one another, feel one another in that arena, right? Because it's so dynamic and so disorienting. Today we talked about a couple of things that would make that arena a lot safer. High intensity lighting, that, you know, that LED lighting is really amazing stuff, right? Combine that with some of your reflective stuff that's out there today, and you've got a home run. Now devices that, you know, if you can separate it off and you're disoriented, you can do alarm. You might have all the air in the world at that juncture in time, right? But you get nervous, and I don't care who you are. I mean, people always say, "Oh, you get down to the yoga position, do your Zen master stuff." If you think you're going to run out of air and die, Zen master might fanny. You're going to start sucking that bottle, right? And the next thing you know, you're going to be low on air. So hit the button and help somebody.
And one thing we just kept in mind, that that area I told you had 1,400 units.
Yeah.
Those are all secondary pass alarms.
Because they all have it
They
on
already
their
have it on their packs, but they carry them as secondary pass alarms.
It's funny. The fundamental doctrine of the American Fire Service is fundamentally our job is to put water decisively on fire. That's it. The best way to do that is with 2 lines, not 1 line, 2 lines. I can't tell you how many pictures I get every week where there's 1 line going into the fire. A 1-line fire. A 1-line fire is a mistake. A 1-line fire is someone who wasn't paying attention. It's got to be 2 lines in. Why? Because the first line can go bad. It can get crimped. It can break down. You can suck and breathe through the line and clog your tip. All kinds of things can happen. You can lose water. The backup line, that's your lifesaver. Why are you carrying 1 pass? If you're going into a fire and you've got 1 pass, you've got 1 lifeline, good luck. Because when that fails, you're done. You don't have any way to let people know you're in trouble.
If my department wanted to get these, where would they go?
They can go to gracefirefighter.com. That'd be your starting point. And then from there, figure out what we're going to do with you. But we'll take care of you. That's what we're going to do with you. That's what we have here.
That's a drone.
That's the agency.
It's the agency that coming to get us. But so if you have an SCBA and you think, oh, it's got a pass device in it, that's fine. This is your backup. But when you take that off, you still have this, right? And obviously, most of the other environments we go into aren't nearly as dynamic as a fire, but they're nonetheless deadly, especially when you look at the road hazards. Right? Firefighters getting hit all the time. It's a pretty amazing deal. It would be kind of neat to even talk about the cops when there are our scenes. You could easily hand them out to the local PD who are doing traffic for you, or doing perimeter control, or whatever they might be doing, or guarding those lines. Say, hey, here's a pass, just hang on to it. Why do I need that? So you're in the system. Yeah, we know where you are. We want to take care of you too.
We also have something that will address that particular application itself. We haven't discussed it today, but we do have something that we're going to be to address that particular application for your public safety people, for your law enforcement, for EMS. We have a device that takes care of it.
Are you going to be calling it the Wannabe Alarm? See old joke. What does every cop and firefighter have in common? They both want to be firefighters.
All I can say is stay tuned.
Well, the reason they're not firefighters, they couldn't pass the background exam.
Quick question, what's the range on this? Because in Pennsylvania, we have a lot of fire police, and they deal with fire police, they're usually pretty far away.
We went through extensive testing on this because we want to be pretty accurate on how this will perform. And we've done a lot of testing over water because we figure that's our purest test that we can run. We've done up to 1.9 miles over water. Okay, now when you go inside of a building, all bets are off. The type of structure, material, all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that's very cool about this is each one of these act as a repeater. So when you go into a structure and you have multiple people out there, your par checks, your alarms, they all bounce through each other and they find their way back up to the incident commander. So that's key and critical here. We're not just talking about point A to point B. Will it work directly to the incident commander? If there's other people out there, they're also going to expand that.
So they're all networked.
They all work at the right time. It's called smart signaling. We've patented it. Yeah.
We did a
That's exactly. I was just thinking the same thing when you're doing shuttle operations, because you send somebody a couple of miles down the road, right?
We did a test, and there was a big commercial building that we went into. Has a lot of computers, a lot of robotics in it, and we were able to get in at least 600 feet into that building, so without losing any type of signal. So, yeah.
And when you also have a repeater. So we have a device that's called a repeater. It looks similar to this, a little smaller in form factor.
Just like we have
Yeah.
and we did use that for that test.
Yeah, but they have one available. If you can run in and you know you're going to have a signal issue. Now, they've already tested out their biggest structures where they know they're going to have issues. So they know when they roll up, we're going to have to maybe rip off a repeater and use a repeater
For a high-rise job or something, drop one of your high-rise kids, or if you're
Right.
going up a few floors,
Right.
just to give you that added boost.
Right.
That's sensible. I like that. I like that.
So that was a great question.
Yeah, well, that's why I guess we can feed you now. You think that's cheap? So I apologize, we're in a metal building and I'm having a hard time getting my tweets to load. How many times do you have to say that, right? So, yeah, and I apologize. If we have some great questions, we'll get back to you, we'll fill you in. But again, we're at Grace Industries. We've got a few minutes left. I want to ask a couple of closing questions. But we're at Grace Industries right here in Pennsylvania with a product that's all American made. Sold by Americans, it's built by Americans right here in Pennsylvania. That's an important part of who we are. We're the American Fire Service. And if you're watching us outside of the United States, then you want to be an American firefighter. And we feel bad for you. So I'm just teasing. But
I have to go to Australia in a couple of weeks for the AFC show, so you got to be careful.
no, I don't. I'm not going to Australia.
I have your cell phone number.
We've got great friends coming from Australia. And Dan, you'll be at FDIC with us this year.
I will.
John's coming, so you'll be able to get your questions answered by some folks that not only make the equipment and can talk to you about all the technological stuff that Danny was bringing up, but John can also talk to you about how he uses it in the real world. He can show you how it works in the real world. And that's really important. And there was a lot of really important stuff that we've talked about. But the most important thing we talked about is the fact that our job isn't as commanders or as firefighters. This is just another way to take care of one another. At the end of the day, if that's all you ever do is take care of each other, you've done a lot of good, right? And we're bound to the good. Marcus Aurelius said it. For my part, I'm bound to the good. That's who we are. We're bound to the good. This is a good product made by good people for a good purpose, to save firefighters' lives or reduce injury. That's all it's for. That's all it's for. It was built for you. If you got one on your air pack, good. Have a backup. It's why you have a spare tire in your car. It's why you have life jackets on your boat. It's why they tell you on the airplane, grab the seat in case you need to use a flotation device. And if you're buying that line, I'm just kidding. But it's why they put parachutes on military planes, because they care about the military people. Obviously, American doesn't care about me. But this is an important part of it should be part of your standard equipment. I don't understand why it isn't. And for 99% of the other work that we do, it's critically important that we know where one another is and that we can talk to one another without having to use the radio. Because there's times when we're compromised, there's times when we can't get to our radios, or there's times when there's radio traffic going on that we can't break in on. And we've all been there. And we've all been on the fire ground with those situations. And it's not throwing stones at anybody, but it happens. And it happens to me, it happens to you. And I love the fact that it's almost a modular system, right? You can start with the first arriving, move up. You know, you can take the basic unit, and things get a little bit better for your organization or whatever. You can get the radio enhancement. Right. And then if you're right now and you're flush with cash and you're looking to do the right thing, and a lot of you are. I mean, seriously, the country's doing well. Your revenues are coming up in most of our cities and communities. You know, be thinking about doing this. If your current accountability system isn't everything you want, well, here's one that's everything you want and then some.
It's great when we talk about budgets and money and things of that sort. This is being funded by AFG. The PASS alarms are PPE. They're no different than your boots, hats, and gloves. So it's something that people are getting funding for these systems out there.
Yeah, this is, if I saw a grant request like this come across my desk, that's a lot. That would catch my attention. This is about surviving the event.
And the grant window is coming soon.
Yeah, I think it's here.
Yeah, it's quick. It's going to be coming up real quick.
So again, Dan Iovin.
Selling bottles.
That's from our brother where I got teasing. I call him Big Dan T. Any final thoughts, boss?
No.
Good. Answer all Dan's questions. Johnny, anything you want to do?
Nope, it's a great product. I think everyone should have one for sure.
And thank you to the Hermitage Fire Department for allowing us to borrow the chief for the afternoon. This is really a lovely part of the country. A great guy, runs a great organization, and really just a stand-up guy. And he will be at FDIC. He's going to be taking the conference in, but I know that he'll probably visit with Dan if he has enough time in his schedule. So get to know him, get to meet him. This is a stand-up guy and a guy you want to get to know. So, and Dan, thank you so much for having us. Any closing thoughts you want to share before we close it out?
Just thank you so much. This is, it's very important, the things you're bringing up, and really we love having you here because this is something we've been communicating to the fire service for about 1.5 years now with our new NFPA compliant pass. And to have individuals like yourselves here, you've used it, you're supporting it, you realize the value of it. It's very, very important for us. I can just sit here and talk about all day how great it is, but it's these gentlemen here that really bring it to life. So I thank you. Thank you very much.
Again, I'd like to say thanks. Is it gracefire.com or just grace.com?
Gracefirefighter.com.
Gracefirefighter.com. Gracefirefighter.com. If you want to check out their products or order some units for your department or get a demo, they'll send a dealer by and show you just how simple this system really is and how important this system really is. Again, we want to thank our friends at Grace, huge supporters of fire engineering, fire rescue, fire apparatus, emergency equipment, and FDIC. They're great friends of ours. We want to thank all our friends at Google for letting us use their platform. Our friends on Facebook, thank you for joining us. We had a great time. My good buddies Dan and John. It's always good to hang out with your fellow firefighters. Hey, listen, if there's anything we can do for you down the road, FDIC is coming up. We'd love to have you there. The Honeywell Scholarship is still going. So if you want to get a scholarship or nominate somebody for a scholarship, go to Fire FDIC, go to that Honeywell Scholarship link, nominate a deserving firefighter to go to FDIC. And they're including the hot package this year. There you go. So you'll get to play with a SuperPASS device if you come to the hot program. You'll get to mess around with the SuperPASS device and see how it works in the real world. Again, I'm Bobby Halton. We're here at Grace Industries. That's gracefirefighter.com, gracefirefighter.com. And now I'm going to blot out the sun. Hey, thank you for being with us. It was a pleasure spending time with you. We hope you picked up some useful information. These are good people who build an American product. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bobby Halton on the road with Grace Industries.